Okay, so that was scary, wasn't it? Or not? Hey, everybody. I just realized I don't have my iPad out here today. So we are going live this morning. Morning for me, maybe afternoon, maybe evening for you. Thanks for joining me from around the world. Can everybody hear me okay this day? Love 3. Frodo already in the house, ready to hear their songs today. I'm so excited that I have fixed some stuff in this thing. I think you're going to enjoy today's broadcast as we listen to these songs. Somebody give me a thumbs up that they can hear me fine, and we will move on from there, and we'll get to listening very soon. Loud and clear, Frodo says. Excellent. Well, I hope everybody is well today. We got about 6 people in the stream. If you are someone who is having their song reviewed besides Love 3 and Frodo, or as I should say, Luca for Love 3, if you are someone besides Luca and Frodo and you're having your song reviewed, shoot me a comment in the stream and let's hear from you this morning. I want to make sure that everybody is here. I have this weird setup. I look like I'm at a press conference because I have this weird microphone set up today, but it's only because there's some oddness. I'm going to have to get some kind of different cable for my interface so that I can go into both inputs at one time. For whatever reason, this camera technology I use, which is through my phone and an app called Camo, which is really cool, but I just when I broadcast in stereo, then what it does is it broadcasts my mic only out of one channel to one side. So hey Walt, thanks for joining. Glad you're here. You're first up today, so we're going to get to you in just a moment. Look forward to listening to everybody's stuff today. This is so much fun, and so I'm just having to do this 2 mic solution because stereo, for you to hear these songs in stereo is way more important than you to hear me in stereo. However, I know it's odd to hear it coming out of one speaker, so I hooked up 2 mics today. So I'm double mic'd, as we say in the business. I don't even know if people say that in the business, but I'm saying that. This is my business, so I'm saying that today. So yeah, just wait for a few more people to get here. We've got Frodo, we've got Walt, we've got Luca, and yeah, we're gonna have some fun today. Excited about sharing these songs with you guys. You know, as I'll state at the beginning of this, just like I stated last week, this isn't necessarily about song like tear down or song critique. I mean, I think critique, when I think of critique, song critique, I've always done it as a very constructive thing, something that's very useful. If something is bad, I'll let you know that there's something wrong with something. But my goal is to pick out good stuff, you know, is to say good stuff and stuff that's positive, stuff that keeps you focused and moving down the road. And because this channel is called Make Music Income, our goals with listening to these songs is how can these songs make music income? And that's, to me, that's a big deal. And so that's really where my mind is with these reviews, as opposed to Stevie, who has like a production music academy, and he's talking about production things. And it's not that we won't talk about production things. We'll talk about song things, production things, but with an ear and an eye towards where are they going to go in licensing or as an artist type of thing. Daydream Studio, hey there. Thanks for joining today. Luca, yeah, Stevie is feeling better. He is all good. It's now his fiance who came down with it a few days after he did, and now she's trying to get back on her feet. But I think the last thing I saw was both of them are feeling better. I know Steve is feeling much better. And we'll be doing our podcast in a few days on Thursday. That's when we tape it, and then we will be putting that out on Monday as usual next week. We just had to skip a week because we just could not figure out a time over the weekend to try to record. And so there you go. It's not the end of the world. We're all still here. He's still here. He's still feeling good. So all right. Well, 11 folks here have joined us, and since Walt is up next, I just want to make sure, if possible, if the people who are being listened to today are available, then we'll make sure they're here while we're listening. So Walt, you're up first, Walt Williams, and I'm going to share the disco playlist with you. If you don't know about disco, it's a really cool place to share your music and share your catalog. It's in a similar way to the way you would with something like SoundCloud. This is just a little bit more private and pretty much more professional, as what people are like about it. And most of the music supervisors and different people prefer this. There's not a lot of there's no advertising, there's no junk. It's just the songs. They can download the MP3s if they want to. And so, you know, at some point, and this isn't an ad for them, but I wouldn't mind being sponsored by Disco, and they might be someone that's interested in that, and I will try that. Yeah, good news to hear that Stevie as well. Steve is all good, and he is back at it. He's really good, especially after his motion array month, which we are going to talk about in our next podcast. Stevie proved that motion array is still a viable way to make lots of money if you do the right kind of music and all that kind of stuff. Afternoon, Canal, thank you for joining us. Hey, if you're joining us today, one of my favorite things is to find out where you're from. So put all your countries or all your states or wherever you are. I'd love to hear it. Hey, Ronan, good morning. He made it. I think Ronan's been at every live I've had, I think. And he comes from Los Angeles, and I don't do this. I do this at 11 a.m. because it works in my schedule. And I think really it kind of works more for people on another continent, over in the European countries, just because it's later in the day for you guys. And Brazil, excellent. Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Stay golden. Good to see you from Montreal. Excellent. This is so much fun. All right, we're going to listen to some music, folks. No reason to just sit here and talk about all these, just talk back and forth, I guess, although I guess that's what a live is for, right? So let's get to the first song, and this is by Walt Williams. And Walt, where are you from? Let me know where you are from. I think you're from here in the States, but let me know. And we're going to listen to Walt's song, Get in the Game. And by the way, I have it in my notes that Walt says, between my 9 to 5 and playing at churches, I am carving out the moments to put together tracks that hopefully could be used in music libraries. I just want to know if the end product is worth anything and if I'm headed in the right direction. Well, that's excellent stuff to know. And Max, you can send me a track, an MP3, at and anybody who's watching this who wants to get a song reviewed for next Tuesday, you can send an MP3 to MakeMusicIncome at gmail.com. You can go to our site too, MakeMusicIncome.com. But if you want to send us an MP3, just send one your best, or whatever you want to be reviewed. But send it to MakeMusicIncome at gmail.com. And also give me a little bit of something about what you want me to look at, or like Walt did, where he gave me a little bit of something to say there. I'll get to that question here in a minute. We're going to listen to Walt's question, and we'll have plenty of time for some questions and stuff later. So let's get going here and listen to Get in the Game by Walt Williams. Let me know if it sounds good. cool, Walt. Very cool. Yeah, this sounds really nice to me. I'm going to go over there was quite a bit of comments here, as you can see here. And um, somebody said, reminds me of 80s pads. That was, Canal said, welcome, reminds me of 80s pads. Um, Good word to hear we're in stereo. I tested it a lot, so I'm pretty sure that it's all sounding good. Daydream Studio says, I'm getting some interrupts. That's just going to be streaming for you. It is what it is. I'm going live, and so it's going to be like that. There, hey, Guillermo, how are you? I don't know how to say your name. Guillermo? Guillermo? How about just Guillermo? Maybe that's it. But Guillermo says, my head moved instantly, great groove. But then I also see a comment here by Canal says a little bit too generic instruments. Someone said it sounded too MIDI, better find new VST instruments. Now, yes, I can agree with that a little bit. By the way, let me just tell you what I loved about it first. I love the fact that it's very upbeat, and you're going to do best with upbeat, folks. By the way, if you're any kind of licensing you want to do, upbeat's always going to be good. And this was more of a minor key type thing, but positive, up-tempo, major chord stuff is always going to be best. But if you're going to do minor stuff, something like this that can be used like this, I will say that it does sound a little dated, and like Canal says, little generic instruments. However, that being said, hey, there's Matthias. Oh, okay. Hey, Matthias. Okay, cool. Good to know that's you. So I see that it sounds a little bit on the 80s side. But guess what? That's very sellable these days. There are people saying, do you have any 80s sounding stuff that sounds like it was made in the 80s? Do you have 90s stuff? Do you have 70s stuff? Do you have 60s stuff? Do you have early 2000s stuff? And to me, this kind of, as long as you're cool with that branding of it, in other words, you're cool with it sounding a little branded, sounding a little older fashioned MIDI, older fashioned stuff. I mean, to me, this is a song that could go in something like Stranger Things or something, where you've got a car chase going on, and their music all through Stranger Things, since it's set in the 80s, is all 80s, and it sounds 80s. It sounds 80s MIDI, if there is such a thing. MIDI really didn't come into prominence till the late 80s, early 90s, but yeah, if you're totally going for the 80s style, then I say you nailed it. And then you have this great build at the end, which I wouldn't have mind seeing earlier. I wouldn't have mind seeing a little bit of that, maybe. I wouldn't mind seeing right there, where you kind of go into that down place. That might be like a mini version of the big build, of the big kind of whoosh or the big riser at the end. You do like a smaller version of that right at that, right before it goes in that small area. I guess it's about 57, right around that first minute. And then you have the best of both worlds, and you've got the 80s sound, but you're giving TV and film and whoever else is using this, or if it's going to stock, you're giving people that build, in the middle. So I would put a version of that riser right in the middle. But in general, I like it. I like the feel of it, as long as you are going for 80s. If you were trying to make this contemporary, well, it wouldn't be contemporary. It would sound to 80s. But in the world we live in, people love 80s music right now. The 80s has made a real comeback because of shows like Stranger Things and other shows on Netflix and things like that. But yeah, it works, and it's got a lot of cool elements to it. It does sound really dated, but if it's supposed to sound dated, then bling. I usually have a little sound that I put when I do this, but bling is all you get, because I don't know how to do sounds yet in here. So thanks so much, Walt, for sharing that. I hope that has helped. If you have any other questions about it, make sure you email me, and we can go from there and talk about it some. Okay. All right. Well, next is Todd Carden in the house. I don't know if Todd is here. Todd, if you are here, make yourself known, my friend. Let us know. I don't always know with some people's studio names and their different names. My name is Guillermo. So it's similar to Guillermo. Okay, very cool. It sounds similar to Guillermo in Spanish. All right, very cool. Well, thanks for being here, and thanks for being at past lives of mine. I appreciate it. Lots of Brazilians in the house, apparently. Okay, Max Muse says, feel like sound from Guitar Pro or some similar app. I don't even know what that is, but cool. And Walt says, thanks so much for the help. Thank you. All right, well, we're glad to do it, and that was a great way to get us going this morning, get our blood kind of shaking and get us moving. Need all the caffeine and stuff we can get here in the morning. Woo. All right, so very good. Well, Todd, if I don't see you here, I'm going to go ahead with Luca's song since I know Luca is here. And we'll come back to Todd here in just a little bit in case he joins us in a little while. Because I love for people to be in the chat and see what people are saying about their stuff as we go. Okay? All right, so moving on to Luca. Luca says, you can't get out of the 80s alive. Well, I got out of the 80s alive. Speaking of which, here's a little trivia question for you. What's your favorite musical decade, 70s, 80s, or 90s? Little trivia question today. What is your favorite? I'm going to put this in the chat. What is, I heard somebody ask this question the other day. Your favorite musical decade. Did I spell that right? Where's your favorite musical decade? He says 80s. So what is your favorite musical decade? Vote on that, and we'll talk about that after this next song. We're going to go to Luca's song now, Happy Valentine's. I feel like it is Jockey. Okay, and now we're going to be playing Happy Valentine's Day by Luca. But we actually are, so here it goes. That's a really unique song, Luca. I really like the way that it just has a really good feeling. It's strange. It's got so many kind of different styles in it. It feels like it's got a little bit of almost island sound to it. It's got a little almost like a song you'd hear on a cruise ship or about a cruise lines or something like that. Oh, hey, Giacomo. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, I agree. It's got a great sound on it. Probably my least favorite thing on it is something you would leave off if you were doing a new version of it. But Walt says it's Eagles meets Aha, which I totally hear that. But the Eagles part that I'm not loving so much is the electric guitar over the top. But that could just be taken out for like another version, like an alt version that you would have, like if you put it up to Pawn 5, let's say, or whatever. But this feels a little bit like a song that could be used in advertising. I think when the guitar comes in, it just gets a little over the top. I mean, I know you're trying to add that next element, right? You're trying to add that next piece. The guitar maybe could be lower. You've got that bum, 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 bum thing going on. Then the electric guitar comes in, and it's such a different tune. I mean, it's such a different tone, that electric guitar, from everything else, which is, everything else is so pleasing in my headphone ears, you know, to me. But when that guitar comes in kind of hard, it just takes me a little bit out of it. So, you know, if I was, you know, looking at this from a, if I was looking from this from a licensing standpoint, I would say I could see it used in advertising. And again, I could see it used for 80s type sounding stuff or European sounding stuff. You know, I think that sometimes we get too used to what commercially is played in the States. There's some stuff going on here. Yeah, and I agree with you, Meister. On this one, it doesn't matter because of the style, but on the last one, guitars were quite MIDI for being old school hard rock. Yeah, maybe. I still think both of them have kind of an 80s sound, and there's so many people, I keep repeating this, but there are so many people that I am meeting that want me to give them 80s sounding stuff that's very old-fashioned sounding, stuff that does not sound current. They literally want, except they want it recorded. They said, do you have anything that was actually recorded in the 80s? I'm like, of course I don't. I'm not showing anybody anything I recorded in the 80s. But Luca, I like this. I think the guitar is what takes me out of this one. And but you're right. You probably do need something at that section to come in that takes us to another level. And it might be that the guitar's just too loud, you know? Maybe it could just be an element that's in there somewhere that's not just like screaming over the top of the whole thing. And that could be probably the best bet there. I don't agree that anything sounds too cheap. It sounds retro to me. And again, retro is big. So Canal said sounds like an advertisement from YouTube. Well, that's not such a bad thing. I love Walt's comment, Eagles meets Law. Aha, that's pretty good. Yeah, and so some really good comments about that, and some nice constructive comments about that. And I think, again, if we are looking at trying to, you know, look at this first, what is current, what is today? Go on, cat, get out of here, go. If we are, see, that's the problem with cats and animals. They're all fun until you're trying to do a live video. But yeah, love it. Love 3. Love it, Luca. Thanks so much for sending that, and a very interesting sound. If you have any other questions, just make sure to email me about those, and I will get that to you. If you have any other questions. All right, fine. Knocking my trash can down and everything. All right, well, we're going to move on here. And by the way, in answer to my question, it looks like we've got one person loves the 80s, one person loves 70s for progressive music, progressive rock, and 80s for pop music. I would agree with that. Meister says 70s. Just says 70s. That's what 70s people say. 70s. That's what they say. Max says, Eric, what you are doing in this stream is so cool and helpful for musicians who want to get their music to libraries. You will see my tracks next Thursday. Cool. Can't wait to see it, Max. Thank you so much. This is fun. So fun for me. And Frodo says, hard to pick, but probably 90s for me. Lots of great hip-hop and metal out there. Daydream says, or Matthias says, definitely the 80s when I was young and all that synth stuff came out. And I will have to say, for me, it's 80s. And Meister says, I was born in the 90s. That's pretty funny. Um, I love 80s music because to me the 80s was when we got away from all that. I mean, the 70s was full of all sorts of stuff. But then we hit disco, and then stuff started to be like synth started to come in, and I was a synthesizer player, duh, and so I liked all that synth stuff. I was just a crazy person for synth. So all the bands that were using synth, from pop bands to jazz to a lot of the other people that I was working with, and it was just I loved it, and so yeah, I'm loving music volume loud in comparison to the voice in Apple headphones. That is, well, I don't have much more volume I can give without getting kind of nasty on the vocals. So I'll just try to stay close to my mic if that's okay. I can turn it up and down. I can turn my volume up a little bit if that helps, but I don't want the music to be too loud. So I'm just concerned this week that it's in stereo and sounding good. All right, so let's now. Canal says, do I send my music directly to your email? Yes, send to MakeMusicIncome@gmail.com. Just send one MP3 and then any comments about that you want, that kind of thing. All right, so Ronan, it could be my earphones though. Okay, well, I tried it with my speakers and this, and I'll try to continue to get this better. I'm not going through compression or anything, so I'll try to continue to get this going better. Okay, well, let's move on now. I know Matthias is here, so we're going to go ahead to Matthias' song. This song is called Artificial Dreamscapes. Very interesting. And so, although I saw the spelling, I didn't know if this was just misspelled, but artificial would be really cool too. Artificial Dreamscapes. I don't know. All right, well, let's listen to Artificial Dreamscapes. Here we go. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I can't tell if that song is trying to be a trailer or if it's trying to be just a soundtrack or what it's trying to be. Because if that's something I'm going to send to licensing, either licensing, whether I'm sending it out um, to soundtrack people or I'm sending it out to stock licensing or whatever, it's going to need to be shorter. But if I am trying to make a trailer, then it probably could be. It still could be a little shorter, probably. Um, Lucas says it has very strong tension, but at the same time, it has a very sweet melody. Yeah, I agree with that. I love the the tension in some of the synth sounds. It reminds me a lot of Blade Runner or some kind of techno thriller type of thing going on. I think it's got, um, yeah, it might be a bit too long, but that being said, uh, it might if it was if it was in the 3 minute area, and I think you're so close now. I'm not trailer man. I don't know a lot about trailers, and so I can't tell you exactly like, oh yeah, you need to be doing this with this to make it more trailery, because I don't do trailers. But from the trailer stuff I've heard, there's usually three big sections, and it seems like you have one big rise and boom, and then it kind of goes on, and I think you kind of expect another one. At least that's the way I did. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. But I kind of expected it to have a few more rises in it, a few more bigger moments. But if you're going for soundtrack and you're not going for, it's just like, here's the deal with all of your songs. Just remember this. Somebody, whoever you're pitching this to try to get it, to try to make income of it, whatever way, people, whoever it is, whether it's a consumer, whether it is a movie person, whether it is a music supervisor, whether it is at a library, they need to know what it is. They need to understand by listening, and they need to probably know in the first 30 seconds what it is, because they need some kind, if, or you could say this is for soundtrack use, but they might be confused by this, Matthias, that it's a little bit. Let me share my screen again so I can refer to it. That it's, and this is this is Matthias, and it might be a little bit on the trailer side, and it might be a little bit on the soundtrack side. So I think you could definitely make some shorter versions of this. See what some other people have said. I know that Max said something about the clavichord, and I don't remember that. Let me go listen to that part. I'm not hearing any clavichord. I think all the songs, all that stuff is very cool. I agree that it sounds great for a movie soundtrack. I agree that it's very atmospheric. Yeah, I definitely agree, though, that it could be much better with trailer hits, a little bit more. But I also agree that it's, again, this must be 80s day, where everything has that kind of that synthy type of thing going on so far today. And yeah, very simple. Yeah, even Meister says he'd shorten the song a bit. I probably agree. Max says some instruments I don't like sound skin. Maybe reverb could make it sound better. I like the sounds personally. I think it's pretty cool. It could be long, has very strong tension. Let's see. David says enjoying the stream. Well, thanks, David. Send us some music, David. Would love to review your stuff if you'd like. And Matthias says, yes, I agree. It doesn't come out clear for what the purpose is. Yeah, I mean, and you know what? Let me just say this about that. Everything doesn't have to have a purpose that you make musically. Sometimes you just make music that you want to make. Sometimes you just make music that is what comes from here. You know, it just comes from what you make. Everything doesn't have to have a use. Everything doesn't have to make you music income in music. However, I think you're so close on this. Awesome, David. David said, I just sent you an email. Excellent. And there's J-Mo. Yay. How are you doing? Good to see you. J-Mo says, cool 80s. Would like to do trailer music someday. You know, I kind of would too. And I'm thinking about taking the trailer the small trailer that we did for Stevie's Production Music Academy, which has already been put in other libraries, but I'd like to take that and extend that into a whole space theme. So thanks again, Matthias. That was great, and really enjoy listening to these so far. It is certainly Synth Day. So let's see where we go from here and go to the next song here. So our next song is, we're going to go ahead to Frodo because I know Frodo is here. So Frodo, if you are ready, we're going to do Loose Ends. Let me see if Frodo had anything to say. Yeah, he says, this is a cue that I've written for Sync last week. I didn't apply to any library yet. I would love to hear your thoughts about this, especially what use you think it could have and why. And I'll just put that in the comments section so you can read what he said. Yeah, Canal says, music must be from the soul, no doubt. I misspelled that. Let me do that again. So, yeah. This is a cue that I've written for Sync last week. I didn't apply to any library. All right, well, let's see what this sounds like. This is Loose Ends by Frodo. All right. Yeah, very good. Very nice sounding, Frodo. Like this. And Frodo, remind me if you're in the stream. I can't remember. And Meister says, it's definitely ready for exclusive sync libraries. I probably agree, maybe with a change or two. And by the way, thank you guys for and gals for putting positive comments along with any possibly negative comments. I know you are all being very constructive so far. I mean, some of the stuff you're saying. So, like, when you write a comment that could be perceived at all negatively, make sure you write a positive one too. And I appreciate that. There's Frodo. So, hey, Frodo, I like this. So, yeah, let's talk about what some people said here and just kind of go through there. And Frodo, tell me if you are sending stuff to sync or if you're sending stuff to stock or both. Canal said that percussion would have been great for the previous song, and he's not wrong. Matthias, you could probably use a little bit more percussion, especially as you get on into that song with the trailery atmospheric soundtrack type thing. And Meister says he loves that crime tension. Yep, agree. And in Love 3 says it's 80s live stream for sure. Although, I think that this one probably sounds, the last two are headed more towards contemporary sounding stuff to me. Max says it needs something in the background to happen. And I think that's where I could agree constructively right here. This is great. I probably feel like that middle area goes on a little too long with the quiet. It's like, it's pretty and it's cool, but and there's nothing wrong with it. It's great. Sometimes we get so caught up in the rules of sync licensing and on all the, you got to make sure you don't stay, in one place too long and all that kind of stuff. But okay, he says only doing royalty-free libraries at the moment. Yeah, I think this stuff really is stuff that a sync library would like. And I think some of you guys are getting too good for stock. Not that stock is not worth doing. This is not a conversation about that, but you've seen other videos about that. Thomas, good to see you. Thomas says, cool track. And, I think that there could be a little bit of tightening in that song, maybe, where that middle section might go on a little long. But again, it's going to be up to the ears of the beholder, the ears of whoever is using the song for whatever use, and some people are going to say, oh, that works just exactly right for my TV show or for whatever use I have. But, and a lot of these, I think some of them could be, the more generic a song is, the more it's going to be able to be used by stock type libraries. And I think the more specialized songs are like this, like the last one by Matthias, and even those 80s ones we've heard kind of the different things we've heard from Luca and from Walt. I think those are things I would pitch to people who are looking for songs for television. So, yeah, Walt says he is paranoid now. He's looking behind his shoulder because of this song. It's made him paranoid. But I'm only doing that because there's cats lurking around, so that didn't help my cat thing. But no, seriously, I like it, and I don't have a lot of comments other than what other people have said. I love the builds in the middle, at right before the middle and right at the end, and I think it's really nicely done. And so I don't really have any other constructive criticisms other than that. It's good to go. If a song's good to go, it's good to go. And we could sit here and tear down and micromanage every single sound of every song, but I don't think that's necessary. So that's just the way I think about stuff. Believe me, if I hear something I don't like, I'll let you know. And again, there's stuff I could have said about Walt's song, about the sounds and all that. But when I look at it through a lens of, hey, let's look back for an 80s type sounding song, suddenly you get a lot more leeway because you don't have to say, oh, there's too much reverb in these sounds. Well, guess what? That's what everybody used in the 80s, you know, in that kind of a throwback sound. When you go throwback, you throw out the door all the top samples and all that kind of stuff. You get into that nasty stuff. And as you go back more, 70s, 60s, 50s, you get really lo-fi. And I don't mean lo-fi as in lo-fi music, but low fidelity sounding stuff. And that's what they're looking for. So good job, Frodo. Thank you so much for being there. If you have any other questions that you'd like to ask me specifically about specific moments in the song, I'm happy to. And on all these folks, I'm happy to give you my thoughts through email. So just email me and we will catch up that way. All right, so now let's move on. Before we move on, there's a comment. Lucas says, I love the piano in the middle, very distinctive and with sophisticated melody. And I'll tell you something about that piano part in the middle. I will say that I'm not crazy about the piano sound. However, it's hidden well. With all the guitars going on and then being a background piano part, it works just fine. And that's, I don't know, this sounds to me like some kind of complete piano or something like that. And again, the piano does its job. It's like even Logic pianos can do their job. I used a Logic piano in a recent thing that was all Logic sounds, and it did its job. It's not the best piano sound I have, and it's not what I would use to do solo piano necessarily, but the right sound can get the job done at the right point as long as there's other things around it that are moving around. Okay, so next up is, I am looking now still for Todd. I'm still looking for Jeff. Is Jeff Bell here? Arco, I saw you. So if I don't hear from any of these from Jeff or Todd, I mean, I put these in the order in which they come in. As people submit them, I kind of like make a note of each one. Frodo asked about his song, do you think the track does hit one specific mood emotion? Yeah, I think it's definitely tension-y. I think somebody may have mentioned that, but I definitely think it's got that kind of tension type of feel. And it's something you might hear in a crime drama or something like that. And like Walt said, he's definitely feeling that drama and that paranoid. So yeah, I think it does what it's supposed to do for sure. All right, well, I'm going to move on to our friend Arco, who has given us another track this week. I put out the word, and you know, I only could put it out so much, and so I brought in both Arco and Rude, also known as Might Music, have a song this week. And so, yeah, we're going to go to those people. So again, if you're watching this and you'd like to have a song reviewed next week, just send to MakeMusicIncome@gmail.com. I'll put it up here so you can type it out. But it's not much of a mystery what it is. Everything that I have is Make Music Income. That's one reason why I started the channel, because I was able to get all the things, the Gmail, the URL, the YouTube, the Facebook, the Instagram, all of them were available. And I said, that's a sign. I need to be doing this channel, I guess. And so that is, Frodo, you see this comment here from Meister who says, it feels like these scenes right before the detective makes some revelation, then rushes to the crime scene. Absolutely. So tension to me is really where this goes. All right, now we are going to move on to our friend Arco. And Arco is got a song called Flute of Heaven. Let me see if I have any notes from Arco on this. Here's my song called Flute of Heaven. It's aimed for Spotify. Like to know if your thoughts or anything I could work on to get it better. So let's listen. And this is Arco, Flute of Heaven. crazy about the intros and outros. It needs a little bit of something, silence at the end if you want to fade that intro out, and then your out is pretty nasty. Yeah, your outro is pretty nasty there. So ins and outs I would look at cleaning up on that. All right, so let's talk about this song. Love3 mentioned that Lucas said that it seems the snare is too loud and smashed. I didn't hear that in my headphones. I think it sounded like the genre, which is kind of like almost like this melodic lo-fi type of thing going on. Dave Guild says flute melody is too busy at the top of the track. And you know what? I'd probably agree with this. And I know the song is called Flute of Heaven, but I wouldn't mind if the Flute of Heaven went back to heaven for a little while. Just at some point in the song, if it floated back to heaven for a while and let us just not hear it for a second. Frodo says, cool ethereal feeling. I think it could get a little bit more creative with percussion and hi-hat patterns. Well, like I said, it reminds me of like a lo-fi thing, and lo-fi a lot of times seems like it gets kind of it kind of cancel. Lo-fi sometimes seems like it gets a little bit of just repetitive and type of thing, and so that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that we have to listen to the flute play a melody the entire 2 minutes, and I think somewhere, David said contrast is a good thing, and I think this song could use a little bit of contrast. Now, one thing to remember, folks, is he did specify that this song is going out to Spotify. So his goal is probably to get into like some kind of playlist where, there is no, it has to do this at this time, and do this and this time because it is going to television or because it is going to a stock or whatever. This is an artistic statement. This is what he wanted to say and what he wants to put up on Spotify. To me, this is completely different than some of the things that we get to when we are talking about all the things it has to do, and artistic statement. I do agree with the flute comments and the contrast. It wouldn't hurt to have a down moment in this song, where it just comes down and really sits there for a minute with no flute and just goes boom, boom, goes down to that bass and maybe and lets the drums rest for a minute and then builds it back up. Frodo says, good ethereal feeling. Yeah, it could get more creative. Max says, folks, don't forget to smile. Okay. Is that me? Does that mean me? Okay. David says more melodic development is needed. Yeah, probably. I think, again, when we get to this lo-fi thing, I listen to a lot of Spotify. And a lot of times I don't want... I used to listen to jazz, like light jazz for this, but I don't anymore because it just has gotten kind of sickening. But now I listen to a lot of lo-fi and what we used to call acid jazz or lo-fi and stuff, and there is not a lot of musical development in those things. It's more this repeated kind of groove, and it's just, I feel like, Walt says, good point, some rules may not apply. And really, when you're talking about artistic expressions that you're putting on Spotify as an artist or as a brand of some kind, then I'm not worried about, you did at 2 minutes and at 1 minute you didn't automatically come down and do what we're supposed to do when we put a song up to, make sure you do this and you follow this template and all this kind of stuff. I think it's a little different. However, my thoughts about this, Hubert Law is a great flute player, and there was some really neat flute stuff in this. I take this that was not a real flute, just a flute sample, but and let me know if I'm wrong. That'd be cool to know. But I think that you could have a down moment in this song, just for a second, to come down without the flute playing, get to the beat a little bit, and then build it back up. Lucas says, the mood of the track is cool and different from the other tracks heard so far. Absolutely. Well, every track is really different from each other today, even though some have been similar with some stuff. But by the way, one of the things I did love about that that track there, Arco, is the just all the ear candy going on there. I still feel like there's a place where it could rest for a minute. It could come. It could just have a pause, and have all that ear candy continue. Take the drums out, take the bass out, take everything, take the flute out, and just let it kind of do its thing for a minute, and then slowly kind of build back into that beat. It does sound. Getting back to what someone said about the snare, to me, all the drums sound a little over compressed, and maybe it's a mastering thing where this thing sounds. I think with something so atmospheric, you could back off all that, and it wouldn't have to sound so crushed, necessarily. But again, I go back to listening to lo-fi on Spotify, and this is going to Spotify, and the aim of every Spotify person, including our friend Dan Barracuda, who pays his rent with Spotify. The goal is to get in playlists, and if you get into a lo-fi playlist, they're going to only play about 2-minute songs, and those 2 minute, and this is 148, and it's going to be repetitive, and it's going to be because people just want stuff that's back there kind of just repetitive. I'm not sure there's going to be that much melody in it, but anyway, yeah, JMO says could build and drop more, and I certainly agree. At least once, I think it could do that. But I do love all the ear candy. I do love the flute sound is nice too. I like it from a player myself. I enjoy that. Now let's pause to answer a few questions here. James says, "Can you get paid advances for music in sync?" Yes, they call it consideration fees, and basically you get your choice with, well, not everybody and not every library. Again, every single library, just like in stock music, is different and works differently. But in sync, you can get what they call consideration fees. I know several people who are working for libraries right now, and they're getting upfront fees anywhere from $250 to $750, but they don't get then any upfront that it makes in those kind of deals. Usually, what's going to happen in those deals is you're going to get paid that upfront per song. So let's say you get a 10-song album, and you pitch a few songs to a library, and they say, "I love it. Make me 10 of those, and we'll pay you $250 per song as a consideration fee or an upfront fee." But you don't get anything else upfront. In other words, if the song then gets a placement on a CBS show and pays $2,000, they keep all of that because they gave you $250 upfront, and you could have waited. And there's other deals that you could do, and sometimes they'll give you the chance to do either one, and you could get, let me have half of the upfront that you get. So if they get $2,000, they have to split that and give you $1,000. But that could be the only song out of the 10 that ever gets licensed, versus you took $250 for 10 songs, which was $2,500, so you had a better deal. So yes, that does exist. And it just has to do with how the upfront is paid, and every library is different about that. Arco says, thanks. We'll keep everything in mind. Awesome. Thanks, Arco, for sending us that song. Somebody else sent me a message earlier asking a question, and I said I will get back to it, but I don't. Let me see if I can find that here. Here it is. It was by Canal. Said, "Can I sell my songs on Pond 5 and still on Spotify?" Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know of any of them, if it's a royalty-free library, that means you can put it on any other royalty-free library, and it's yours to do with you as you wish in any kind of sales, whether you make CDs, whether you put it on Spotify and all the things. You can do anything you want with it. You can perform it in public, all those things. Sometimes when you get into deals with libraries, let's say exclusive libraries, they might have something that they don't want you to do, and that might be that they don't want you to put it on Spotify for whatever reason. I haven't had that happen with mine. All my exclusive libraries say go ahead. Yeah, you absolutely can put them on Spotify. All right, so let's get down here. If anybody else has a question that I missed, would like to ask me a question, just let me know as we go. All right, so we're going to move on now. Let's see where we are on the hit parade here today. That was Arco. So let's get back. I don't know if Rude or Mighton is here. Mighton Music, Jeff Bell, or Todd. If none of them make themselves known, I will just move on to Todd, who is next in the list. So we're having some, if you're just joining us, we're having some fun today. Listen to lots of cool music, a lot of synths, a lot of 80s type stuff, some trailery, soundtracky type stuff, and everybody is doing well and really enjoying listening to all this stuff. So let's move on to this song. Let me share this. Boop, boop. Now sharing. This is, again, I'm sharing from Disco today and playing the audio from there. So let's go to Dreams by Todd Cardon. Todd Cardon. Dreams. Really cool. Very nice. Yeah, I like this. I mean, it's beautiful, and believe me, I'm a big solo piano fan. I have a whole solo piano brand of my own. If you ever want to just hear some of that, it's at Quiet. Just a little bit of shameless self-promotion. If you ever want to hear some of my solo piano music, but this is my piano brand, and so I do a lot of solo piano, and it's focused on some of it. Every once in a while I'll put a pad in or a bass or something, but most of it is completely solo piano. And my first thoughts about this, without looking at anyone's comments really, Todd, is that this feels the piano's nice. Again, it sounds like one of those felt piano things, something like Noir or something like that to me. To be honest, I am not a huge fan of those pianos. They sound created, and they're supposed to sound that way. And especially towards the end of this, you can hear that right here, I think. Especially where you do the little. Where is it? Yeah, right there. That like bring. To me, that feels a little. It feels a little bit created MIDI, which is no problem. No one's going to be. Most people are not going to be listening to this and going, "Oh, it's too MIDI." You know, my wife or anyone who is a music listener and music lover but doesn't know anything about making music is not going to talk about the things I'm about to talk about. So from a compositional standpoint, from a melodic standpoint, I think it's great. But as someone who has his own piano brand, Quiet Soul Piano, I am very picky about piano sounds. So for me, I'm just going to notice that. However, for use in film or television, or especially in YouTube videos on stock music, I don't see that anyone would do anything but love this song. It's very pretty. It has really nice melodic types of things. It has some nice breaks. It's very cool for like soundtracky things or in the background of a beautiful scene or something like that. So I like it. Let's go to some of what people are saying here, and I'll see if I agree with what they are saying. Take off my shameless self-promotion there. Okay, so we heard Beautiful Melody by Luca. Max says, some humanization for left hand could be helpful maybe for both hands. So I guess Max feels like it's too quantized, maybe. I didn't feel that way. Frodo says, very beautiful track. The piano is composed so well that I don't miss the other instruments, and that is the point of solo piano. Meister says, maybe also some extra delay and reverb. I'm not sure. I mean, I felt like the effects were pretty. Yeah, I mean, I probably might be talked into that, and I might put a little bit more on myself. I use software called Keyscape by Spectrasonics, and I am a Spectrasonics fanboy, so I will always kind of go there. Before Spectrasonics, I use Ivory, which is also a very good set of pianos. And I would like to look at more. And once I love Keyscape. I can't escape it right now. I can't escape Keyscape. I can't Keyscape. So I love it right now. And I'll use the delay in Keyscape, and then I'll add some delay, my favorite delay in Logic. Thomas says, simple but purposeful and beautiful arpeggios. Agreed with that, Thomas. Yeah, Thomas. And Frodo says, as a guitarist, I didn't notice a single note sounding MIDI. Well, see, there you go. And it's going to be personal preference, especially among piano players and especially among MIDI piano players, right? So those of us who have favorite samples, we're going to go, oh, that doesn't sound like a good piano. And some people swear by all the felt piano things, and they say, that's the way I want to hear piano. So Luca also says, in a certain way, it reminds the atmosphere of the soundtrack of Agony, an old Amiga video game. And speaking of video games, if you haven't seen my video game talk with Steve Malin, you're going to want to go see that, because he talks about, and you need to know this, Todd, that apparently solo piano is big in those games, and there is a whole world of stock music out for video games, especially 2D games like that when you're talking about and different kinds of things. So piano music could be used for that, so you might want to check into that. Meister says, Frodo, I haven't either, but I noticed some MIDI guitar on one of the previous songs. Okay. Yeah, I think I did too. But again, I'm a piano player, and it's hard for me to understand, sometimes hear what MIDI guitar is. Yeah, thank you for seeing that. I appreciate that. And so, Todd, I hope that's been helpful. I think you're on the right direction. I think, again, because of its style, because of its soundtrack type use, that felt piano is very popular. And most people, just like we saw here in the comments, are not going to know. They're not going to understand or even worry about the fact that it's not, you know, an absolute real piano. Or I listened to a bit, and I always like to listen and see if I could feel like it's a real piano. And I don't feel like it's a real piano. And I do that as a pianist because I want to know, I want to say, am I hearing this right? Could it be a real piano? I want to fool people that much. It's the same thing with all my samples. If I'm playing upright bass on here, and I'm using Trillion, which has great upright bass samples, I want to fool engineers in Nashville. I want them to ask me who the upright bass player was, and they do. Sometimes guitar. I can, you know, some of the stuff that's in the Native Instruments guitar stuff, some of that strumming stuff, I've had guitar players say, hey, who played the acoustic part on this? I don't need to redo it. It's already great. So that's what I like to see it. Yeah, Walt says, I love Keyscape, and you and me both, brother. I love that program. And it took me a while, actually, to get into it. I immediately loved, like, the electric pianos, and that was really good. It's great for electric pianos. You basically have every electric piano you will ever need if you get Keyscape. But it also gives you that great piano sound, that Yamaha piano sound, which is kind of what I love. And I only really use the Yamaha sound in Ivory. And truly, just so you know, in studios, especially in the States. Now, I don't know how this is in Europe. It's probably different, probably because there's more Steinways and Bosendorfers and things like that in studios. I think a Yamaha C3 Grand is probably your normal thing that you're going to see in a Nashville studio for sure, probably in an LA studio. It's the sound that cuts. Those pianos cut better than Bosendorfers and Steinways. So for me, the Keyscape and the Yamaha sample in Ivory are the two best pianos for most of the stuff that I produce, including pop, but even solo piano type stuff. Now, if I'm going for that magical, mystical piano, which is somewhat like your tune here, Todd, I would say that the felt things do probably work really well for that. And I use something like that on a Logic project lately. Meister says MIDI instruments are still good even if you're a good player because of consistency of ease for use. Yeah, I love MIDI. I'll be teaching a whole class about MIDI next week. And it can save a lot of time for sure. And Meister says, I'm thinking about using more MIDI guitar because I always have to edit my guitars after recording anyway. I'm telling you, some of these libraries that I'm downloading from Native Instruments, these new ones, that nylon one, the solo nylon guitar, but all of the strummy ones and stuff like that, I'm getting a lot of use out of those. And don't tell my guitar players in Nashville, but it's saving me a lot of money. Hopefully they're not watching. Okay, so let's move on here. We're getting into the middle of the second hour, and I'll need to get going here soon. So let's move on now to let me share my screen and move back to our playlist. We're almost done. Thanks for everybody for hanging out. I hope you're enjoying this today, because I am. And we're going to listen now to Positive Attacking Play by Jeff Bell. And before we do, let's see what Jeff has to say in his notes to me about this. The description I use to describe it is on the stock side. This is an upbeat and aggressive rock track well suited to contact, combat, extreme, and motorsports. Would I need to elaborate more on descriptions or I think that's pretty good descriptions right there. I like the bass part in the drop and the way the A section and B section are the same. It doesn't come across as a music bed. I like the way it was arranged and wonder if there is a market for it. As a guitarist, putting out tracks like this allow me room to feel like a rock star in ways that producing corporate music doesn't. Okay, well, very good. Let's listen now to Positive Attacking Play by Jeff Bell. Yeah. You're going to need to listen to some of that again. Hold on a second. I like this. It sounds nice. I think it's got a pretty cool feel there, Jeff. The drums sound great. And I have a feeling that they're not real drums, right? I think they're fake drums, but they sound good. They're just great samples. Let's see what people say here. Frodo says, very groovy drums. Again, the drum sound is awesome. Great drum intro. And then Frodo says, I felt like the guitars are a bit too behind. Yeah, and this is probably this is what I had to go back and listen for. I think there's just some timing issues here. And this is what's going to hurt you with this song with stock, I think. I mean, you may get through you'll certainly get through the Pond 5 with this song, things like that. It's very useful for that kind of upbeat type of thing. And this is the kind of stuff that Lester Woodward is doing and all those people are doing who are really that aggressive guitar rock type of thing. Dane. Hey, Dane. Thanks for joining. Dane says, start off very strong. Did I hear a couple of missed beats? Yeah, there's a few, it just barely, but enough for us all to know. And anyone listening to this, I don't know if stock reviewers at, Audio Jungle might be, and Motion Array might be a little bit more, they might be kind of funky about this song, but, excuse me, drop something. I think that you might get in some, let's see, Love 3 says, is the wrong impression or are there too low mid on guitar sound? Well, I didn't notice that, but that's going to be a personal preference probably. Max said in the main section, probably too much fills. I felt like the drums were doing the same things over and over again. And yeah, they probably didn't need to fill that much. And it just really doesn't do much except for that one thing. I love the stop area, and that's nice. And Meister says it lacks punchiness because of the timing issue, and it could be a bit more gluing with master bus and reverb tricks. Yeah, certainly. I think that's true. Also, I know it's guitar, bass, and drums, but it wouldn't hurt to have something else in there for texture. Shaker, maybe some more percussion, some tambo in some places, like you know, so it builds up. I think percussion would be a great idea for building this song up a little bit more. But it's all going to go back to the guitar, which is naked out front, and you can tell it's off. Just a little. And just a little is enough, you know, if it's just a little late or a little early or whatever. To me, that's where this song's fallen down. The guitars sound good, and the bass sounds good, and the drums sound great. But I think there are some corrections you can make, some additions you can make percussion-wise, maybe some additions you could make with, I don't even know what other thing. My first thing would probably be organ or B3 or something like that. But it needs some other texture. Maybe it's some kind of like ear candy synth thing, but maybe then that will take it too far away from the guitar groove you're going for. But so I think this is it's a good, certainly a good thing you have here. I would go in and you see Steve do this all the time on his videos. If you watch Stevie B, he is a guy who all the time does straightening up of his guitar parts when he records them, and he'll take them and even take them in the Logic and put them right on the grid. And I think that's really important. That's more important than you know. And that's why when I work with musicians in Nashville, they are so on the grid. They are so and without like having to fix it, they are so used to being right on that click. And I think that's the thing that I hear most from, I won't say amateur, but semi-pro people who are working on this at home, especially guitarists. Got to be right on that. You got to be tight. Because that's what we're used to. It's a little like auto-tune. We're so used to hearing tuned vocals, to hearing them out of tune is almost harmful to us. And even and we don't have to over-tune them. I'm not talking about, crazy tuning stuff. But I'm just talking about normal. Everything is very, very close to in tune, if not 100% in tune. And I think that's the same thing with a lot of the guitars that I hear sometimes and the basses that I hear. And so you just got to make sure that is very stuff. But really cool sound, great guitar sound, great drum sound, bass sounds good to me. It just seems like it could use a few more elements maybe to take it to the next level. All right, well, let's listen to our last song today. And our last song is by Rude, also known as MakeMusicIncome. And let's go ahead and listen to it. Let's see if he sent me anything about this. No, he just sent me this last week, and it didn't get in time. He said he had another song. So we're going to play The Bright Side of It by Rude, also known as MakeMusicIncome. Here we go. Okay, kind of an odd ending there. A little bit of a little too cut off for me. I know everybody likes to do those booms, but I think you could have a little bit nicer ending there. Yeah, Meister said, "Where's the guitar? I love the steel." And I agree. It could come in and out. I felt like it was a little loud at the beginning. Like it was, and like I felt like I needed to turn the whole track down a little bit. I'm going to turn my volume up a little bit. Like I felt like I needed to turn the track down when it started. Very much, everybody's talking at me at the beginning. I will say the strings at the beginning sound a little fake. I know they're probably for maybe 1970 sound and country, it would be perfect. But for now, they sound a little out of date for this, because what you're trying to do, somebody nailed it a minute ago. We're doing like corporate country. I love it. And I did think that was funny. And yeah, David, Glenn Campbell for sure. Music is great for stock libraries. Absolutely no issue with that. Max says drums could be more lively. Velocity humanization for snare. I'm not as much of a velocity hound as most people are for drums, personally, but I get it. Probably not wrong. I think this is something that I hear a lot of people go like, "Oh, that kick drum is exactly the same every time." I'm like, of course it is. It's techno or it's lo-fi but since we're talking about acoustic instruments supposedly here, that's what Max is probably talking about here. Very positive vibes, corporate country, and Walt says, I love the feel of this, maybe a melody or lead line here or there. For stock, I don't mind there not being a melody or lead line. So it sits behind stuff better. I think that gets in the way. One thing that I thought, someone said that they felt like who was it? That the pedal was gone. Somebody said something else. I felt like that the drums, I felt like the guitars kind of disappeared a little bit in the mix. I took my headphones off to listen to the speakers for a second, and I just felt like the guitars, the acoustics, kind of got too far back in the mix. And so I love the piano. I love all the elements. But see right there, I feel like the guitars have gotten a bit, just a smidgen lost. Just a smidgen. When I talk a smidgen, I talk in dBs, like 1 dB, 2 dBs. I don't talk about like bring it up 3 dBs. I just mean it's just a little bit down in the mix, or maybe it could use some compression to fit it in somehow or something. I don't know. Again, not a music engineer. I'm a music producer. Let's make that clear. I don't mind the strings there. They kind of work. I love this part. I love the fact that you do a B section here. And here you can hear the guitars, the acoustics fine. You kind of got a little bit of a melody there. I think you'd have a very stronger bring into that section. If you really want to be country, you need a whoosh, or you need the crescendo, whatever I called it in my paper, but there's that crescendo thing, and I think you could have kind of a suspended cymbal roll coming up, or some kind of riser right there that fits this. Probably, since this is all acoustic, a cymbal roll. And I think when the steel comes in back at the end, it's too loud. It's great. I love the sound of it, but it's too loud. And there's something about it that's bothering this ear for me. But anyway, and make sure you clean up this end. Right there. It just I never want to hear anything that like, it's just unnatural to me. So anyway, Well, that is, I love that. Let's see what anybody else said. Frodo said, sounds like it's made for stock and commercials. Totally agree. Max says some fills on snare variations. Not a bad idea, actually. Dane says strong concept. Drop the pedal guitar a bit. Yeah, it's too loud. Bring up the bass a little. Strings are too MIDI sounding for sure. I'll tell you another place to look for decent string sounds on a budget is some of these $29 libraries at Spitfire. I just got the intimate strings. They work great, maybe for this kind of stuff too. And that between that and my strings that come with complete the session strings, and maybe a little MIDI patch that you combine all three of those together, you get pretty decent sounding strings. Lucas says perfect for commercials. Yep. No pedal steel. I think there's pedal steel in there or some approximation of it, but I like it in there. I just think it. Yeah, I agree with Dane, who said it was a little loud. So, well, folks, that is. Let me just get rid of my share because we are done listening for today. I have really enjoyed hearing all your tunes, and I hope it's been helpful to hear them. Let me make sure I just got to everybody. And yeah, it looks like I got to everybody. And if you weren't able to watch this live, I hope that these comments are helpful for you when you watch it in the replay. If you would like to have your song on Make Music Income channel reviewed on Tuesday, I do this every Tuesday at 11. Really have fun doing it. And just send your song to makemusicincome@gmail.com. And there is the link. And I will put that in the notes below as well for this video. And hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any last comments or questions, I've got a few more minutes, and then I will say goodbye to all my friends here today. So it's been a really fun time of listening to songs. Every song had something really good and unique about it, and I'm really excited. Stevie says this all the time when Stevie B's on his channel when he listens to stuff. He's just shocked by how good everybody is, and I have seen that in my work over the past 20, 30 years. I've seen demo quality rise so high, but now it's at an all-time high. The way people are coming up with stuff and the quality that people are coming with. Now, mainly because they have better tools than they ever had before. You buy Logic and you basically have so much, or you buy Complete and you have so much, or whatever. But I see it happening more and more. Hey, Walt, thank you so much for your tune. I really appreciate it. I'd love to hear more sometime. If you have any other comments you want to give to me, just shoot me an email. And thank you to everybody who has been part of this. Luca, thank you for being here and always on the stream. Frodo, good to have you hear your music. And Matthias, thank you. Todd, thank you for joining me today on this. You're one of the first people to come in last week and say, hey, let me get a tune reviewed. Jeff Bell, thank you so much for your really interesting song. And Arco, great job on Flute of Heaven. And Rude, I didn't see you in the stream. I'm not sure if I saw you music in the stream today, but awesome. Multi-Music Man says, what do you think about this song? It's a little quiet. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know which song you're talking about. Been in and out today, but thanks for doing this, Eric. Well, you are certainly welcome, Thomas. I appreciate you being here in this stream when you can. And as you guys know, you can go back and watch this at any time. Multi-Music Man, don't know which song you're talking about. Did you mean the corporate country tune? If so, I really like it. I think it's very unique. I think with a few subtle changes to it, mixing wise, it will be just about great. It'll be great for someplace like Motion Array or Pond 5. All those stock musics should eat this up. I would throw that right up there immediately. So, all right. Frodo says, thanks for the awesome stream. Looking forward to the next one. Well, so am I. I'm afraid I don't have any more time to listen to, and I don't see a link in the chat anywhere, and it may be that they don't allow it. So, but Multi-Music Man, just send to this address here, just send an MP3 to this address, MakeMusicIncome@gmail.com, and we will get you in next Tuesday's queue if you'd like to do that. Love3 says, thank you for this live stream. See you next time. I've got to go wait the mother-in-law back home. Well, good luck with that, my friend. We will see you next time on Make Music Income's You Bet. My pleasure. Multi-Music Man, would love to hear your stuff. Make Music Income Music Review Tuesday comes to a close, so thanks so much for everybody who sent their music in. And for those of you who have hung out the whole time, I really appreciate your time and hanging out with me. It's a lot of fun. So we'll see you next time and see you next Tuesday. And now I'm going to end the stream. So everybody wave. Goodbye. Goodbye. Thanks for coming. Goodbye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day. Okay.